For me personally, my network, it's helped me professionally, personally, I'll say mentally, and just in so many ways, including us having this conversation is a result of that networking.
Hi, it's John Bernatovicz, your host of the HR Like a Boss podcast. Welcome to Season 3. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope of finding what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Hello again, and welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast. Super excited to have Jeff Palkowski on the show today. Jeff is a networking friend of mine through LinkedIn, and I made his acquaintance through another mutual HR Like a Bosser, Christy Engler, who I know has spoken at his conference many a time. So Jeff, welcome to the HR Like a Boss podcast.
Thanks, John. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it. Again, Christy is our common connection. We become good friends through networking, met her over social media, and I'm glad that she was able to connect us.
I cannot go into my next question without thinking about the shoes that you're always showing on the web and through social media. And I know a huge thing for you is building up your community inside of human resources and why that is so important to you and what that brings. And I know part of your brand are those shoes. So I got to find out how and where did you get those shoes, and tell me a story about that. I'm just so curious.
Well, sure. And the shoes, the socks, as anyone that knows me knows, I'm very passionate about being a member of SHRM. They've been a partner of mine throughout my entire career. So the shoes that you reference, I had some nice kicks made with the SHRM logo on it. I've worn them to conferences. They draw a lot of attention. SHRM hasn't been real happy with me because people keep asking where they can buy them, and they say go ask Jeff because they don't sell them. But no, it's just a way to kind of spread the message with a little bit of levity. And I do this if anyone follows me on social media, if they follow hashtag HR Sock Shot, I have probably the largest SHRM sock collection of anyone, and I constantly post those out there again just to have a little bit of fun. And that again, it can generate conversations, contacts, and it really leads into the networking, which I just feel is so important really for everyone, but I'll say specifically for human resources. Because it's one of those areas where we're faced with challenges every day. A lot of new things come up, but chances are someone else has dealt with something very similar to it. So having that network has helped me to kind of reach out to others, get that support, get that assistance from other people. And I think specifically for those in HR that are in departments of one, they might be the only HR practitioner in their organization. To have that network and to be able to reach out to others, I just think is so critical because they don't have a colleague to the left or the right that they can turn to, but they can reach out to their network. It can help them be a better HR professional. So for me personally, my network, it's helped me professionally, personally, I'll say mentally, and just in so many ways, including us having this conversation is a result of that networking.
How can you as an individual in a leadership role or even not, make sure for those especially that are not in a leadership role, how can they lead within their organization?
Well, I think it's so important to lead in whatever you do. And there's different ways to do that. I mean, I think when we think of leaders, we immediately jump to the C-suite. We think about the C-suite and that strategic level. But there's many people, so many people in an organization that are working those front lines. And in human resources, for example, I deal directly with our employees. And there's so many ways that I can lead without the title. And I've always made it my goal. Sometimes it's leading by example. And that's number one, being a good human and being compassionate and showing empathy. Because as we mentioned, a lot of the things that I deal with are uncomfortable. Typically, employees come into human resources not because they want to say hello. They've got a problem of some kind. So just being that empathetic person is one way that we can lead by example. Being the best at my job, and that's having the knowledge, having the skill, having the experience, so that anything that comes my way, if I can avoid the answer no, that's usually my first goal, and let's look for a solution. So that's another way to lead. And then the example I gave is the one way that I choose to, I guess, be a leader, and maybe there is a title attached to it now. It's leading within my professional organization. As you mentioned, getting involved in a chapter helped me to become such a better leader in that I'm now leading this group of, as you said, like-minded individuals. We have a shared passion, a shared goal. And I've taken that, from the chapter level now to the state level. And so again, leading both within my organization, but also leading out of the organization. And I think one key thing to remember is the title doesn't make the leader. And in some organizations, your best leaders are those without the title. And I think it's to be a good leader, it's recognizing those individuals and the contributions they can make to your organization. And then they've already demonstrated they're a leader. Now give them the title. But sometimes organizations have it reversed where they give the title and they're truly not a leader. So I think that's just an important lesson to keep in mind, really, for any organization.
Let's talk a little bit about this idea that you shared with me around proactive versus reactive HR. What in the world does that mean, Jeff? Enlighten me and our listeners.
Well, I'll give you a couple examples here. One, I want to mention a quote that I heard at the SHRM annual conference last year. So SHRM President and CEO Johnny C. Taylor Jr., who leads SHRM, he recently made a very insightful comment in his keynote. And he said that for HR to be successful, we need to be a thermostat rather than a thermometer. And all of us were kind of like, cocked our head like, what? And Johnny explained that a thermometer measures and reports the temperature, whereas a thermostat is able to change the temperature. And that's why he said HR needs to be more like that thermostat. We need to be the change so being proactive rather than just reporting the temperature and being reactive. So I just think it's an important lesson. So two of the most recent campaigns that SHRM has had was last year was called Cause the Effect. And this year their theme is Drive Change. And both of those themes, they just resonate with me so much because it's the definition of being proactive. Too often for many people, not just in HR, but in a lot of disciplines, it's easy just to sit back and react to situations rather than being part of that positive change, which I just think is so important, gets back to being that leader again. I recently wrote a blog post last year, and it was titled, HR, You're More Than a Fire Extinguisher. And in that blog, I compared how a fire extinguisher just hangs on the wall until you need it to put a fire out. And unfortunately, some people in HR, hopefully nobody that we know, but some people may resemble that fire extinguisher. They're just kind of hanging around, waiting for something to happen. But I think if we're proactive, if we're engaged, if we're involved in our organizations, then we in HR, we can help prevent some of those fires before they become fires. And again, I think that's just being proactive rather than being reactive. And I think it's something that I've carried with me. And I just feel, again, it makes me a better HR professional by anticipating and being proactive rather than just waiting for the problems to come to us.
How would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
Well, that is a great question, John. And I've thought about this a lot. I think it's pretty simple, really. Number one, you have to show up. And what that means is you need to bring your full self to your job. You need to own your roles and responsibilities. Again, people are depending on you. So it's something it's important responsibility. So I think we need to embrace what our roles and responsibilities are. I think in HR, I tend to do this. I underpromise and overdeliver. Again, don't make promises you can't keep. I need to be knowledgeable, engaged, and be visible. I think those are all key things to being in HR like a boss. One thing you want to be is don't be that HR person that when you walk into a room, everyone says, "Shh, HR is here." You need to earn their trust, their respect. And I think once you've done that, you're well on your way to HRing like a boss.
Jeff, awesome job. I really enjoyed having you on the show.
Great. Thanks so much for your time. Again, hopefully what you're doing continues to inspire those of us out in the field here. We love hearing these stories. As I said, that's part of the networking as well. So hopefully people will get out, listen to your podcast, connect with your former and future guests, and again, just kind of create more community because we're just all better together.
Thank you for listening to the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating or review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.